Hey everybody, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Once again, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Wow, so it's been over a month since I made my last podcast. Before I get started with this week's podcast, I just want to say it is really good to be behind the mic again. And a lot of you have been wondering where the hell I've been or what's gone on in my life to where I've had such a long hiatus. And I'll tell you all this. As my audience, I look at all of you as being like my family, and I feel like I shouldn't hide anything from you. I'm going to tell you exactly what's been going on the past months. January was a really busy month for school because I had midterm exams and midterm projects. Being a digital media communication student, I deal with projects rather than actual exams, which really shouldn't have gotten in the way of recording my weekly podcast. However, some stuff happened in my personal life. A lot of it wasn't good. And so I needed to get some time away from the mic to be able to fix myself as an individual and to be able to help fix those around me. And yes, I dealt with about a depression. I'm not clinically depressed. However, I did deal with about a depression, and sometimes it's okay to take a prolonged break and be able to figure out problems and sort out situations. I will tell all of you this that have gone through what I've gone through. You never have to go through any of this alone. You should always feel as if there is hope, and just know that you will have a support system, whether it's your family, your friends, and the situation tends to get better. What I am going to tell you guys is that don't give up on yourselves when times get hard. If you've got to take a prolonged break to focus on yourself and to heal yourself mentally or physically or emotionally, whatever, it's okay. So just know that I'm doing okay now. I still have good days, I have bad days, but overall, I have enough energy and enough of a sense of well-being to be able to do the podcast. And like I had said last month, that we've got a lot of surprises in this season of the Calitraveler podcast show. Get ready for season 2. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to have more guests on the show, just like I did with Tyler G. Woida, aka Hinmade Productions, talking about his TikTok. I have a lot more interviews this season. Everything. In fact, in a couple of weeks, a friend of mine from Los Angeles who does comedy will be on the Calitraveler podcast show, and we'll have a one-on-one conversation, and he'll share a bit of his story and some of his material. Once again, it's great to be behind the microphone because this right here, this is my home away from home. You've all been waiting for my life update, and so much has happened in the last month. I've got to catch you all up on what's been going on in terms of my school. So I've literally got nothing but good news in terms of school. Though last Friday, we had academic advising, which every semester we have to go to it in order to be able to be unlocked to pre-register for classes. What this means is that you have the ability to register for classes before everybody else does. So that means that you have priority over classes, so you'll be able to get the classes that you want and need. And in this academic advising, we were discussing about workshops and internship. So depending on what major you're studying, some people might be having to write a thesis to end up graduating. For instance, medical students, I believe that they have to write thesis, as well as like history major or any sort of major in those types of fields. They have to write a thesis. Some fields, however, require you to do an internship. My field of study happens to be that, which is digital media communication. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to take my internship this year and I'd have to wait until next year. And I start checking the classes that I've already taken, and I realized I've already taken most of my major classes. So I talked to my advisor and asked, am I able to take the internship this summer semester? And they said that I could, which is so exciting. So I was cleared to do internship, which I have to do like 200 hours, and I can apply anywhere as long as it's within my field. Now, the golden question you're about to ask me, right? Where have you applied? And I'll be honest with you, I have not applied anywhere yet, but I'm working on it. In fact, Tuesdays and Fridays, I don't have classes, so I actually might go to places and go apply in person. Even if they tell me you've got to apply online. I always have had this experience when I used to work back home in the States, that if you apply to a place in person, the chances of you actually getting hired are a lot greater because they know who they're dealing with. They see you, you're having personal interaction with them. So it's great. Now you're wondering, what type of internships am I wanting to apply with? Well, as I had explained in my introduction podcast episode, I want to get into media broadcasting, particularly radio broadcasting, which is something that I've had a huge passion for since I was a kid. And surprisingly, yes, Bangkok is an international city, so there are radio stations that are in English. Not everything is in Thai. And I'm planning to apply for a couple of radio stations that are like English language stations. So the first one is Met 107, which is a really popular station in Bangkok. So for those of you in California, particularly Los Angeles, so Met 107 is basically Bangkok's equivalent to Kiss FM in Los Angeles, or Mix 94.9 in San Francisco. Applying there, as well as Radio Thailand FM 88, which Radio Thailand FM 88, they play like a bunch of music from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, as well as they have the news in English. So I'm really going to apply to these places, and I'm not going to just apply to these places. Now, for those of you that are looking at applying for internships, don't apply to just one company because that's the company you want. What if there's the case of, I don't get the internship with a company? Well, you always have to apply everywhere you can. That way, if option one doesn't work, you've got several options to work on. And another thing is, don't take rejection to heart. You are going to have places that are going to reject you. They're not going to be interested. Okay, yeah, it sucks. However, you can't just keep your head down and then just lose all hope. Because for every rejection that you receive is one step closer to getting hired. And I'm just so shocked that I've gotten this far. And yes, there have been days, there have been nights where I've wanted to give up because it gets difficult. You deal with anxiety, you want to just pull your hair out. But you know what? You don't do it. You look at it as, okay, I'm dealing with difficulties. This is a bump in the road. So what you have to do is you just have to push yourself and get yourself back up and just keep going till you get that finish line. And once you reach that finish line, you've gotten your bachelor's degree or master's degree or doctorate or whatever you're studying. But know that even when times are hard, just don't give up. So I've been dealing with that. A lot of projects. Just finished a really cool project from my sound design class. And we had to do sound mixing. And it was either with an alien voice or a robotic voice. And I am a huge fan of the Terminator. For those of you that personally know me, you know that I love the Terminator. And I really wanted to use Terminator clips, so I ended up using from Terminator 3. And it was when the Terminator, the T-850, ends up having his system corrupted by the TX, which was the villain of Terminator 3. And we had to do this sound mix, which was not really difficult, as long as you knew what you were doing. But I've got the sound clip here, so check this out.
Desire is irrelevant. I am a machine.
So what you heard is my voice, but my voice happened to be combined with different effects to give it that robotic sound. So we had to do that, and then before that we had to do like a voiceover. And our voiceover was from Angry Birds. And if you have my YouTube, you'll be able to find that video on there. So I've been dealing with that, and then cinematography as well. We've been having to film a project as well, and we have to recreate a music video. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But it's been busy. And next month we have final exams. And the sad part is I have a final exam on my birthday. But I believe it's in the morning, so who cares? So, been dealing with that, and then dealing with everything going on back home. I'm sure all of you have heard on the news about the insurrection that happened at the U.S. Capitol last month. My family is okay. Nobody I know was there. Everybody's okay. It's just a crazy situation. And then, as well as COVID situation back home seems to be getting better, but I'm not sure. Here in Thailand, the COVID situation is so-so. We started the second wave about a month ago. But it seems to really subside because people here are actually following social distancing directions. And other than that, that's everything that's been going on in my life. But we will see what happens in the next week, and I'll keep giving you all updates as it goes along, and as well as I'm going to have interviews pretty soon. I believe in the next week or two, I'm going to have Leo Yurovich, who is a friend of mine from Los Angeles. He's a comedian, be on the show, and he's going to share some of his materials. We're going to have a one-on-one interview, and he'll be sharing his story with you guys. So I'm really looking forward to that interview with Leo, and I hope that you all are too. Also, if you are interested in getting a spot on the Calitraveler podcast show for an interview, whether you're a musician, a comedian, just a student, just somebody who wants an opportunity to speak, let me know. You can contact me via YouTube, like comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you're really interested, then I will give you my contact information and we can stay in touch. Podcast can be heard weekly on my YouTube channel, so subscribe to Calitraveler 93. as well as liking my Facebook page, Calitraveler93, and the podcast will be available on Spotify and other platforms.